Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Agudath Israel Etz Ahayem Synagogue here in Montgomery, Alabama. Welcome to our Kabbalat Shabbat service. We are praying out of Sidor Lev Shalem, and we begin tonight's service, page 5, with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We continue Psalm 95, page 11. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladunai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena ladunai. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yeshenu, Nekad Mafana Betoda. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yeshenu, Bizmirot Naria Lo. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena Ladonai. Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena, Lechu Neranena Ladonai. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yeshenu, Nekad Mafana Betoda. Naria, Naria, Letzor Yeshenu, Bizmirot Naria Lo. We continue responsively in the English. Let us go and sing to Adonai. Let us trumpet praise to our protector, filled with thanks. Let us greet God, raising our voice in song. Come then, let us bow and kneel. Let us bend our knees in the presence of Adonai who formed us. If only you would listen today to God's voice and not become hard-hearted, like the people at Merivah, like the time at Massah, in the desert when your ancestors tried me and tested me, though they had seen what I had brought. Arbaim shanakut bedor v'omam toeh levavhem v'hem lo yad rachai asher nishpati v'api im yavaon el menuchati. Page 13. Ashiru ladonai shir chadash shiru ladonai kol haaretz shiru ladonai bachush shamo basru miyom liyom yeshuato zapru vagoyim kevodo bechol ha'amim nifliotav ki gadol Adonai o mehulal miyod no rahu al ko Elohim lai shiru Kichol Elohe Halilim V'Adonai Shamayim Mahasab Had V'Hadar Lefanav Oz V'Tiferet B'Mikdasho Havul Adonai Mishbachot Amim Havul Adonai Kavod V'Oz Havul Adonai Ke'evod Shemo Seu Mincha Uvahu lechadzorot av lai shtachavu ladonai behadrat kodesh chilu mipanav kol haaretz imrum vagoyim Adonai malach aftikum tevel balatimot yadina amim b'meisharim yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz Ayir hamayamu melo yalo sadai vechol asher bo lai az yiranenu kol hatzeyar lifnei Adonai kiva lishpot haaretz yishpot tevel betzedek V'yamim b'emu nato ya lai Yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, lai, lai. We continue responsively, page 15. Barbara, would you lead us, please? Psalm 97, page 15. Flashes of lightning illumine the land, the earth watches and... I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Forgot where I was. Barbara, continue.
Flashes of lightning illumine the land, the earth watches and trembles. Mountains melt like wax at the approach of Adonai, at the approach of the master of all the earth. Worshippers of idols be shamed, for praising false gods. All that is thee supreme bow before God. You, Adonai, are above all that is earthly, exalted over all that is worshipped as divine. Light is sown for the righteous and joy for the upright. Rejoice in Adonai, you righteous people, and thank God as you pronounce the divine holy name.
Or Zarula Tzadik Will Yisrael Simcha Simchu Tzadikim Badunai Vahodu Lesecher Kadesho. Thank you very much, Barbara. Sorry for the interruption. Page 17. Amizmor Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash Ki Niflaot Asa Hoshia Lo yemino uzaro akod shoadia Adonai Yeshuato le'ena goyim gilad tzidkato zachar chesda ve'emunato levei Yisrael ra'u cholav se'aretz et Yeshuat Eloheinu horiu ladunai kol haaretz bitzchum veranenu v'zameru zamru ladonai bechinar v'kol zimara bechatzot rod v'kol shofar horiu lifnei hamelech Adonai yiramayam umaloho tevel v'yoshveva Neharot yimcha uchaf yachad hariyim yiranenu lifnei Adonai kiva lishbot haaretz yishbot tevil b'tzedek v'yamim b'meisharim yalai lalai 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 yalai lalai lalai yalai lalai 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 Yalai la 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 yai la 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 yalai la 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 yalai la 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 yai la 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 la. We continue page 19 with Psalm 99. Amanda, can I call you to lead us for the first time? Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtachavu lahar kadosho ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Thank you very much, Amanda. We rise, page 21, Psalm 29. Mizmor leDavid, avu ladonai b'nei elim, avu ladonai kavod vos, avu ladonai kavod shemo, ishtachavu ladonai behadrat kodesh, kol Adonai al hamayim, el kavod hirim Adonai al mayim rabim, kol Adonai ba'koach, kol Adonai be'adar, kol Adonai shover arazim, vayishaber Adonai et alzei halvanon, vayarkidem kemo egel, Levanon v'Sirion kemo ven rehimim, kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, kol Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, vayechesop nyaro, uvehechalo kulo merkavod, Adonai lamabul yashavaye, shev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai oz li'amo yitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. You may be seated. We continue page 23. Lecha dodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, Lecha dodi lekrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela, shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה לך, דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה, לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך, דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה, מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה, קומי צאי מתוך ההפכה, רב לך שבט בימי קבחה, והוא יחמו עלייך חמלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. We rise, page 25, as we face towards the west as we chant the last line. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה לך, דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. You may be seated. We continue page 27 with Psalm 92. Fern, would you like to lead us responsively, please?
It is good to thank you, Adonai, and to sing your name most high, to proclaim your love, favor, and faithfulness tonight. Be good, love the heart, of the sound of the lyre rise up. Be glad to me with good deeds, Adonai, and I shall sing of your handiwork. How wonderful are your works, Adonai, and how excellent are your designs. The arrogant do not comprehend, the fool does not comprehend it. The wicked flourish like grass, and every evildoer blossoms, only to be destroyed forever. But you, Adonai, are exalted for all time. Surely your enemies, Adonai, surely your enemies will perish. All who commit evil will be scattered. As well will raise up his horn, raise up the dead out, and anointed with fresh oil. As my enemies gather against me, my gaze remains steady, for my ears listen and hear. The righteous flourish like a date palm, cry like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in God's courtyard.
In old age.
In old age they remain faithful, still fresh and bountiful, proclaiming Adonai is upright, my rock in whom there is no flaw.
Tzadik tamar yifrach, ki erez balvanon yizkeh shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu. Od yenuvun beseva, deshenim verhananim yeyu lehagid, ki yashar Adonai tzuri below avlatabo. Thank you very much, Fern. Page 29. Adonai is sovereign, robed in splendor, girded in strength. The earth stands firm, not to be dislodged. From earliest time you were enthroned, you are eternal. In your house, beautiful in its holiness, your testimonies endure for all, Adonai, for all time. Thank you all for joining us this evening. And we have a special speaker tonight. Richard is going to come up and talk about the Shinbaum's experience during the Civil Rights Movement. and Richard. You can actually go there. They might, so you don't have to be in front of all this.
I have been in front of that. You know me. You know, I thought I would broaden it out and speak as to more of the congregation, sweet and sour, as rather than personal family. Talk about the larger family of the congregation. The civil rights movement was a very tough time for this congregation, and for all three congregations of Montgomery at the time. You must realize, and everything must be put in context, in 1954 and 55, there were 7 bombings in Montgomery, Alabama. One, besides the 4 that occurred at black churches, one was at the home of an Episcopalian minister here in town. One was at the home of a Lutheran minister. And then that doesn't count the ones that didn't go off. Okay. It was a very dangerous time for everyone in Montgomery, Alabama. The Klan was at its height. So you have to put everything that occurred in a context. It was in this context in December of 1955 that the civil rights movement really began in Montgomery, Alabama, with the second incident involving a bus rider, Miss Rosa Parks. At that time, the bus boycott began at the Holt Street Baptist Church. The Jewish community was in turmoil. Okay. Rabbi Atlas was the rabbi at Agudath, Israel. Rabbi Blackschlager was the rabbi at Temple Beth Or. And I forget the name of the rabbi at Etz Ahayem. But Rabbi Blackschlager had come to Temple Beth Or after a controversy in the 1930s. And the rabbi at Temple Beth Or at that time was asked to leave because of his involvement in the civil rights movement. So obviously Rabbi Blackschlager was not going to get involved. At that point in time, in 1955, Rabbi Atlas appeared on the first local TV show with Dr. King. And members of the congregation were very concerned. And when Rabbi Atlas would not withdraw what he had said, unfortunately he was asked to leave by the congregation. So say in that period of time, it was not pretty on the part of the synagogue and the civil rights movement. But, okay, even though the White Citizens Council, as I call it, the Klan in suits, was very active in Montgomery, Alabama, some Jewish businessmen joined with the head of Montgomery Fair, okay, and formed an organization called the Men of Montgomery. And the Men of Montgomery, partly for economic reasons, okay, went against the mayor, Mayor Gale, and tried to get a negotiated settlement of the bus boycott. The bus boycott persisted for a period of just over a year into the next Christmas holidays until December 20th of '56, when it was resolved by court order from Judge Johnson. Like I say, it was not a pretty time for the congregation. And Rabbi Rich came here promising not to become involved in the civil rights movement. So, and you have to understand, during this period of time, there were bombings at the Jewish congregation in Atlanta, Miami, and Nashville. So part of the feeling at Agudath Israel was probably one of survival and fear, and not becoming involved actively in the civil rights movement. I totally understand. I don't know that I would not have done the same thing. I'm proud that the head of the men of Montgomery, was my grandfather. The organization that took on the White Business Council, the White Citizens Council, and worked to try to resolve the bus boycott. Of course, once the bus boycott was resolved, most blacks in the community continued to sit in the back of the bus. Things really didn't change. The next big incident to hit Montgomery was the Freedom Rides. And there were a lot of Jews involved in the Freedom Rides. Things had changed during the Freedom Rides, My father's store and this was 1961, my father's store and my uncle's store were the nearest places to the bus station. At that point in time, during a violent protest by the Klan, they got out of hand, way out of hand. Blacks were being beaten galore in the streets of Montgomery. Being nearest my uncle helped bring a lot of black patrons and customers into the store and barred the entrance from the store from the Klan. But the civil rights movement, like I say, was trying in the community. And by 1963 and 5, when you had the Selma and Montgomery March, and Rabbi Herschel was coming down, according to the reports from Rabbi Herschel's articles, he was told to contact a member of the congregation, an officer of the congregation, and even though the congregation had been locked up that day, in order to prevent any problems at the congregation, the rabbis that were involved in the march came to the synagogue, and an officer of the synagogue opened the building to allow the daily minyan to take place. Hilly took a big chance, because if it had been pre-known that the synagogue was going to have the minyan, we would have probably been the target of the Klan. A number of synagogues during this period of time were exposed to bombings and incidents. It was a dangerous time to be a Jew, even though we were accepted in the white community in part. Civil rights. I'm proud of the roles that Dr. Byrne and Raymond Cohen took in the civil rights movement. They stood up and went to the ADL and made sure anti-Semitism was attacked. I still remember when John Cromlin ran for mayor of Montgomery, and Irving Byrne went to the TV station and took John Cromlin off the air himself. John Cromlin was probably the worst of all bigots. He was an Asa Carter white supremacist and a member of our congregation. Made sure he didn't spread hate that night. The civil rights movement, like I say, was a tough time for the Jewish congregation. We didn't always act properly. We didn't do what we should on all occasions. But in the end, we did what was right, and we protected the congregation. I still remember coming to synagogue and seeing swastikas painted on the door of the synagogue. Fortunately, that's the worst that happened to us. But it was a dangerous time. We were involved. We went forward and we made our way. Being a Jew has not always been easy in Montgomery, Alabama. It hadn't always been easy in the United States. It must be remembered that we are guests in a hostile land. We are guests in a hostile land. It has been tough at times. We have been second-class citizens. It was only because of economics that we were accepted. Personally, I've tried to make it a little better. I've tried. Bobby's tried. Ken's tried. We've tried to do what's right. We've tried to lead up to the examples that my grandfather and Hilly and others set for us. We've tried to overcome the bad examples that my relatives, like Les Weinstein, set. I admit it was not always pretty. We did what we had to do. We did what we had to do in order to survive. I prepared or pulled a few articles. What happened between 1954 and 1960 in the history of this congregation of the Civil Rights Movement in that period of time is not flattering. The truth is often not flattery. Okay. What happened in 1964, 3 and 5 is what was right. We learned. For civil rights, we need to follow the examples set by those that came, knowing that their fathers came from an area of pogroms and ghettos, and because of them, we don't have to live in the same. Yes, Montgomery was founded by Jews. We've had Jewish mayors. We've had Jewish district attorneys. I don't know that we've ever had a Jewish judge, but we tried. Gene Halpern, who was the leader, one of the leaders of the men of Montgomery, was asked to run for mayor in the 60s, early 60s. Of course, he declined. We have to learn from the examples set by these men, like Gene Halpern, and move forward. Civil rights is something that can vanish in no time. Our civil rights are under attack right now, under violent attack. We have to stand up for everybody. We have to learn that we have to stand for the civil rights of everyone. For if one person doesn't have civil rights, I don't have civil rights. And if I don't have civil rights, you don't. Yes, I'm selfish on that subject. I believe in doing what's right. That's the lesson of the Jewish community in Montgomery, Alabama, between 1954 and 1965. We started not doing what was right with Rabbi Atlas. Okay. And we ended doing what was right by Rabbi Herschel.
Thank you so much, Richard. That was remarkable.
The exhibit of civil rights up at the Montgomery boycott, up at the African American Museum of History in D.C. So this picture is in Washington, D.C.
It's part of a video that's shown in the museum. It's at the end of the video. And Cheryl was there, I think it was Cheryl. Meryl was there and snapped the picture.
Oh, okay, that's,
Wow. If you haven't been to that museum, it's really a good museum. Wonderful museum. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. We're going to go ahead and continue our service. Page 39A, let us rise for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevohu Rach. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vo'ed. You may be seated. Baruch et Adonai. You may be seated. Umahavir yom umevi laila mavdio ben yom uvein laila Adonai tzavaot shemo El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch oleinu lelam vahed baruch ata Adonai Hamariv Aravim, page 40. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael amchavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadita Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachveinu uvekumenu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha uvamitzvotecha leolam voed Ki hem chayenu v'orech yameinu v'orech yameinu Uvao hem manege yomam v'layla V'yavatcha tasim mimenu la'olamim Baruch Adonai ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'eile asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinanatam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shachpecha v'kumecha Ukshartam me'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotofot b'neinecha uchtabtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha v'haya'im shemot tishma'u el mitzvotai. Vayomer Adonai Moshe lemor daber el bnei Yisrael v'yamarta lehem v'yasu lehem tzitzit al kanfei v'gnehem ledoratam v'natnu al tzitzit hakanaf b'tiol techelet v'haya lachem letzitzit uritem oto uschartem et kol mitzvot Adonai v'asitem otam v'lo tatu rach levavachem v'acharei nechem asher temzonim achareihem leman dizgaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kadoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher otzeiti etachem me'eretz Mitzrayim leot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet, page 43a. Ve'emunah kozot. Umalchuta b'ratzon kibalehem Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael ha'neshira B'simcha rabba v'yamaru chulam mi chamahocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamahocha nedor b'kodesh nahora tehilot o seifele malchutecha ruvenecha b'kiyam lifnei Moshe zeli anu v'yamaru Adonai yimloch le'olam voed v'nehemar kifad Adonai et Yaakov v'galad chazak mimenu baruch Adonai ka'al Yisrael, page 45. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Ushmotzetenu elachayim ushlameta v'yalam ufosanu nuskat shlomecha baruch atah Adonai haporetzu kat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. We rise, page 46. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam, oti le'olam, oti le'olam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat le'doratam barit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash shavat vayinafash. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledoratam barit olam. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabba bi'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlech malchutei b'chayechan uv'yomechan uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael bagala bagala uv'izman v'meru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam ni'almei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei kudisha b'richu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushpechata v'nechemata damiran mi'alma v'maru amen. Silent Amidah, pages 47 through 52. Page 53. Vayechulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tziva'am vayechal Elohim bayom hashvi'i mikol melachto asher asa vayishpot bayom hashvihi mikol melachto asher asa. Vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvihi vayikadesh oto. Kivo shavat mikol melachto, kivo shavat mikol melachto. Asher bara Elohim, asher bara Elohim la'asod. You may be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Eloi Avotenu Eloi Avraham Eloi Yitzchak ve'Eloi Yaakov Hoi Elogadol Gibor v'Hanorah Elyon Konei Shamayim va'aretz Magen Avot bidvaro Mechaye Metim b'mamaro El HaKadosh she'ein kamohu hameniach li'amo b'yom Shabbat kodsho kivam ratza lehaniach lahem kivam ratza lehaniach lahem lefanav navod b'yirav hafachad ונודה לשמו בכל יום תמיד מעין הברכות אל ההודעות אדון השלום מקדש השבת ומברך שביעי ומניח בקדושה ליום בקדוש נעונג זכר למעשה וראשית. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, רצה ומנוחתנו, קדשנו במצוותיך, ותן חלקנו בתורתך, סבנו מטובך, ושמחנו בישועתך, ותהל לי בלבדך באמת, והנחילנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה וברצון שבת קודשך וינוחו בו ישראל מקדשי שמך ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת יתקדש ויתקדש שמך רבה ביום דברה חירותי וימלך מלכותי בחייכון ובימיכון וחייך בית ישראל בגלה וזמן קריב ימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם נעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קדושה בריחו לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחת ונחמתה תאמירן מיומה וימרו אמן. תתקבל צלותון ובתון לחוש כנפי ונשמע וימרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמי וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. We rise, page 56, as the ark is opened for Aleinu. Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצון, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרא בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת. אין עוד על כן נתפתו אדוני אלוהינו לראות נפש ותברכם. Kadu b'toratech Adonai mloch le'lam vo'ed v'ne'emar ve'aya Adonai lemelech al kol ha'aretz bayom ma'hu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. You may be seated. This week, we will observe yard sites for Samuel Blitz, Meyer Cassover, Lillian Rubenstein, Sarah Abramson, Dr. Isaac E. Capilouto, Paul Clark, Anna Golem, Ann Levy, Eva Owen, Philip Rubenstein, Victoria Toronto, Shalom Travis, Roy Emanuel, Miriam Reiner, Louis Byrne, Rose Butler, Fanny Goldfield, Rebecca Rich, Matilda Cohen, Helen Weisberger, Faye Allen, and Abraham Stamm. I ask through the yard site letters that we send for every remembrance that if you would like to send in a paragraph or two, I'd be more than happy to read them from the pulpit. This came from Martin Clark, yard site for his father, Paul Clark. My dad was born into a cotton planting family, and he farmed for his lifetime. Dad was a Phi Beta Kappa graduate at Tulane University. He graduated in 1940 and soon after enlisted in the Army to fight the Nazis. He told me he was in the very first American Jeep to enter Berlin. The Russians were already there in 1945. He met my mom in Berlin, a survivor Hungarian Jewess, and they married in 1946. He was an adult convert to Judaism. He loved the people, the ethics, and the lifelong pursuit of knowledge. He raised a boy and a girl who went on to be contributors to their families and communities. Thank you very much for that. Those observing yard site and those who mourn, please rise. Join me, page 58, for the Kaddish tome, the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabba, b'yomad divrach chirutei v'yamlech malchutei, b'chayichon v'yamechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'mahu, amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'olam u'me'el maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei kudisha barichu. Le'lam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata da'amiran v'yoma v'yimaru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav uyaseh shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru amen. You may be seated. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. If you look at our monitors out in the hallway, you'll notice that we have added some of the Israeli hostages on the screen, so I'd ask you to pay attention to those. Barbara asked me to also mention some of the hostages each week. This came from Israeli News. Israel's military says that 2 male hostages have been rescued from Rafah in southern Gaza. Fernando Marman, 60, and Louis Har, 70, are said to be in good medical condition. According to Israel, 253 Israelis and foreigners were kidnapped by Hamas on 7 October. Of those taken, 130 remain unaccounted for. On 12 February, Israel said that at least 29 of them are dead. Since then, another hostage, Yair Yaakov, has been confirmed to have died. Israel gives an official figure of 134 hostages because it includes 4 people taken hostage in 2014 and 15. 2 of these are believed to have died. So let us keep those in mind as we go through our week. that there are families who are still missing loved ones, still in hostage, being held hostage. Tomorrow morning, services will continue at 9:30 a.m. And tomorrow evening, the Alabama Community Virtual Havdalah will meet at 6 p.m. To celebrate the end of Shabbat, and that's via Zoom. Barbara, do you need to add anything?
I can just, stand right here on Bridget thing. Bobby? If you want to call Mark? Yeah, it's going to be continuing education. So if you have anything that you think would be of interest to our congregation, we would love to hear from you. Temple Bethel Food Festival Sunday, let's not forget about that, and support our friends there. Good shots. Oh, do something nice for somebody this week. Pay a visit or make a phone call, to our members that cannot come to services, and let them know that.
If you have time, Ruby Goldfield is at Baptist East. She has both shingles and she had abdomen surgery this week. So Baptist East. Ruby Goldfield. She's in 145. And if you look at the signage in the hospital, it's not there. You have to ask where it is. But if you haven't had the shingle shot, it's probably wise not to go. So you only get that by contact, by the way. Yes, Ken?
Yeah, I just want to mention is that Rabbi Jules Harlow passed away this week,
Mm-hmm.
who was the person that rabbi from the seminary that had edited the Sim Shalom Siddur and also edited the sitters for Rosh Hashanah, the Matzah for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And one of the thing the article I read in the New York Times interested about him was one of the things that when he edited, he tried to do was to shorten up the prayers and make them sound more like poetry, which that was, I looked at as a good thing, that in Judaism it's not a sin to try to shorten up the services.
Too late. We'll conclude on page 11. Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra li'ed nasa v'chefso ko azai melech shemo nikra azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora v'hu haya v'hu hoveh v'hu yiyeh b'tifara v'hu yiyeh b'tifara v'hu echad v'yein sheni l'am shelo lehachbira b'li reshit b'li taklit v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra v'hu eli v'chai go'eli v'tzor chevli b'yetzara v'hu nisi umanosli minat kosi b'yom mekra minat kosi b'yom mekra b'yado afkid ruchi b'yet ishan v'yaira v'imruchi keviyati Adonai li v'lo ira Adonai li v'lo ira Shabbat shalom.